Welcome back to Sahara TV. My name is Rudolph Okonkwo. This is the Skype call segment, an opportunity for you to give us your feedback on some of the news stories making its way across Africa. Today in the studio, I have the privilege of having one of the most important people on Twitter in Nigeria, the only one and only Egghead Odewale. Welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the last time you were here is over a year now. Why are you in the United States?
Oh, actually, I've been in the United States for quite some couple of months. I'm presently a fellow at the Harvard University at the Beckman Center for Internet and Society, which is attached to the Harvard Law School, and also a visiting scholar at the Georgia Institute of Technology.
Wow, that's interesting. So, so you're watching Nigeria from abroad. What's the difference?
Well, I think for someone like me, there's really no difference because I get to have sort of a daily linkage, you know, to what is happening in Nigeria through my social media activities, you know, via Twitter, Facebook, BlackBerry Messengers, and a couple of other platforms. So sometimes I don't really feel like I'm out of Nigeria, except for the cold in Massachusetts, you know, which reminds me, you know, of the location where I am.
You have over 20,000 followers on Twitter.
Yes, I think so.
And the world of Twitter is been expanding for Nigerians. And how do you think Nigerians have been handling it?
Well, I think it's sort of the Twitter really for me, Nigerian Twitter sphere sort of mirrors exactly the diversity that we have in our society. Basically, you have people from different and diverse backgrounds and different kinds of thinking, and they bring all their sort of idiosyncrasies to Twitter. You see, even in the way that people use, there are those who use it for political discussions, there are those who use for economic discussions, some use for just exchange of banters and, you know, basically offhanded messages. You know, there are those who just read or consume information. There are those who share. There are those who engage. There are those who even use for marketing, you know, and most corporate organizations now, you know, you find them on Twitter trying to engage their customers, you know, or attract more patronage to their business or services that they provide. And even recently, you have a lot of government officials also coming on Twitter.
Yes, I wanted to talk about government officials. How is the Nigerian government reacting to activities on this social media?
Oh, well, I mean, interestingly, from the president's own incursion, I mean, to use that word, on Facebook, you know, which was prior to his declaration, you know, for the presidential election of 2011, to some of his aides now, you know, coming to Twitter to engage the Nigerian Twitter sphere. You know, I think it's been quite interesting. These days, I see a lot of government messages, official messages from government being issued on Twitter, and government officials being quoted from their Twitter post. So basically, we have moved from, you know, just citizen exchanges amongst themselves to citizen government, corporate institution government, and a lot of other, you know, sometimes unidentified usages that people have put Twitter too, and also other social media platforms.
All right, we are going to continue the discussion on Twitter and who is active and who is making impact. But first of all, let's go to our Skype callers, because I understand that we have 3 people on Skype at this moment. And the topic we're discussing today is the proposed amnesty for Boko Haram members and also the new members of the Governing Council for Federal Universities. So let's start with the proposed amnesty, and I'm going to George. George, Elijah, you are in Texas. Welcome to Sahara TV. So what do you think about this committee that was set up by the president to look into how to implement an amnesty for Boko Haram members?
Like I said in the previous discussion here last week, Saturday, Sahara TV here, I strongly feel, and I still hold on to the point I said earlier, that it's very wrong for the presidency, Nigerian government, to have issued amnesty to Boko Haram. It's like it's a declaration. It's a declaration to the world that the Nigerian government is under siege of terrorism. It's
No,
under,
no, Judge, they've not issued an amnesty. They just set up a committee that
Sorry,
will look
the
into
committee-
how to do it.
the committee that has been set up, the most, I will also say that the fact that it has been initiated, the committee has been put in place. But at the end of the day, we are all Nigerians. The committee finally come out to the report that yes, it's good for them to go ahead, and that's just Nigeria. We are all Nigerians. Since independence, there have been ways Nigerian government, Nigerian institutions have always been wrong. We are not foreigners. So we may be foreign land. We know how the system is run in Nigeria. So I'm just telling you at the end of the day, this is going to be like the end product of the committee that has been set up to come out with a position, because that will be their position. That at the end of the day, they say yes, for peace to reign, for national security, for security in Nigeria, for law enforcement, for to have law enforcement in Nigeria, we should have the amnesty should be given. That will be the final. Quote me. I'm just telling you what will happen at the end of the committee report.
Okay. Hold up, Judge. And Zat, you're in Malaysia.
Yes, sir.
What do you think about this proposed amnesty?
Yeah, thank you very much. First and foremost, we have to look back about the committee that has been set up so far. No committee in Goodluck Jonathan has ever worked, even though they come out with whatever facts they believe they have. For instance, look at the committee being set up with them, led by Nuru Ibadu. Up to now, we don't have any fact about this thing. Now, about this committee being set up, I believe in every conflict resolution like this, the first thing that's supposed to come to the negotiation table first is a negotiation. Now, the administration of Goodluck Jonathan made use of what is called the military combatant with the Boko Haram. But later, when they realized that the military cannot do anything, they later came back to the drawing board. Like, okay, let's actually go for amnesty. Left to me, I have to embrace the amnesty if that will be the call to end the situation in Nigeria, because majority of the people that have been against this amnesty for so long, none of them has ever proposed a way out of this amnesty.
All right, let me go to Greece. We have Teolos. Is that right? Hello? Okay, we lost him. Now, let me ask you, this amnesty thing, what is going on? How are people reacting to it, the proposed committee that will look into how to implement that?
I think I want to pick from where Hamzat left off. Basically, I mean, I think it's just a clueless and totally confused government, trying to just play gamble, what they call kalu in the streets with the lives of Nigerians. Basically, I don't think, the government itself moved from saying that these are people who have infiltrated government, who have, who are part of the security systems or agencies of government, and then to saying that these are faceless entities, and then all of a sudden you want to grant them amnesty. We have a previous experience on amnesty in Nigeria, which the late President Yaradua granted to the Niger Delta militants. If you ask me, did it stop the degradation of facilities or development in Niger Delta? It did not. Did it stop oil theft? It did not. It has not made the Niger Delta to be more secure than what it used to be. So all the issues that were raised prior to militancy in the Niger Delta that occasioned the crisis in the oil regions of the Niger Delta are still very much in place as we talk now.
But we can say that it stopped the bombing, the killings, and the kidnappings in the Niger Delta.
If you ask me, I think it's just the government trying to manage the media output of whatever is happening in the Niger Delta. I don't believe it has stopped. I think the bombing is, going on maybe to a lesser degree than it used to, be before. I think kidnapping is a daily occurrence. It has even moved beyond the Niger Delta to other parts of the country, in places like Abuja, where you have the seat of government. I'm sure there are daily kidnappings that go unreported. In Lagos, for instance, and I've heard stories about people being kidnapped in places like Warri, and you are escorted personally to your bank to go and withdraw money for the kidnappers. Those ones don't get publicized like the kidnapping of the mother of the Minister of Finance. it is when people in high offices have been affected by some of these, crimes and vices in society that you get it reported in the media. I mean, for instance, yesterday, and somebody was commenting about this on Twitter earlier on, over 36 people or, thereabouts, some figures even say up to 100 people were burnt, alive on the Benin Road. There was no anger, expressed on any of the different media of communication the way you would have expected it. And just barely a year ago when the Dana air crash happened in Lagos, I mean, we knew how everybody responded to that. It doesn't, whether the life is one, whether it is 36, whether it's 156 or 152, whatever figure, life is sacrosanct. And the government and people of Nigeria should see it as that and should be able to respond, appropriately to whatever loss of life, you have, in the country. And this comes back to the issue of the Boko Haram and whether or not many people have been killed or affected. But almost everybody living in the Niger Delta, have been affected by the activities, of either the multinationals or of the militants in that region. Every day they live in anguish, in deprivation, in poverty, extreme poverty, to put it correctly. And nobody is doing anything about that. More than what you have even in the north in terms of killing of the people. There are people who are, can be described as living dead, moving in the streets of Nigeria. How do you appropriate these people or situate them in the context of amnesty or pardon to people who have been, engaged in criminal activities across the country? And then when you pull this back against the grief that those who have been victims of the activities of these criminals, you then begin to ask yourself, and various people have asked these questions. So what happens to the victims of all the, criminal bombings and terrorist activities, shooting, indiscriminate kidnappings and what have you, everywhere? So for me, I think it's just a government, that is totally clueless, and as the granting of amnesty, or the concession to the granting of amnesty, because the government has been called, by various from various quarters to pursue the amnesty option, I think is a concession of failure on the part of the government, that it is not able to provide security for lives and properties of the people of Nigeria, particularly those in the northern part. And I see an attitude of government that seems to say that since these are people who are sort of far removed from me, or that are not, I don't have anybody or relative that is directly affected, then they can as well continue to kill themselves. Because over the years, until the opposition governments went into Maiduguri, for instance, the president never paid any heed to the calls for him to visit these places and assess the situation firsthand. We have people who are being paid every month, from taxpayers' money, to provide security for lives and properties. Nothing has been done.
You said something important, because this week, General Egghead, the Chief of Army Staff, came out to say that basically that Boko Haram, the operational way they do their thing is beyond what is baffling to him. So in a sense, if they cannot find a solution, military solution, maybe that is what is forcing them to now try the amnesty part.
I think General Egghead's comments sort of insults the intelligence of Nigerians. In other climes, you would have expected a man of integrity or honor to throw in the towel, because it's an admission of failure on his part. And to have that kind of statement from someone who is the #1 army officer in a country like Nigeria, I think is quite unfortunate that he still has his office. And you have a commander-in-chief who will keep him in the office. I'm sure if we go and check the list of the committee that has been formed, he is probably a member of that committee. And it also goes back to what Hamzat said, that this government is a government by committee of committees. It has formed a lot of committees, and I don't think there's any of the committees it has formed in which the resolutions or recommendations of that committees, have been implemented at any point in time. So how do we know or believe that this committee, would come out with recommendations that will be implemented by the president? And aside from that, the committee will waste money and resources. Who is accounting for that?
Now, let's go back to our callers and get them involved too. George, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm very much with you.
So this idea of this amnesty proposal now that is moving ahead, How do you see the president? What does that mean to you as you look at the president buckling under pressure to do this?
As a journalist here and in the United States who have been following these developments very closely, I will tell you that personally, I want to concur with what the guest speaker said. And it's very clear that the presidency is having a lot of troubles. And it's under serious pressure, intense pressure, and from the north. And I strongly feel that, I would put the bulk of this problem on the president's side and also on the governors in the north side. I said that because there are a lot of almajiris in the north who are just idle, rolling the streets, jobless, and they don't have anything doing. And I do hand the devil's workshop. If you visit the schools in the north, majority of the schools, there's no table, no chair. They sit on the floor, their floor. There's that kind of anger among all these youths who are just idle, carrying arrow and bows about, nothing else to do. I want to tell in essence that the governors, they collect monthly allocation, they collect security votes to ensure that, look, they take care in case of security of their particular state. What do they do with the security votes? The question, no answer. And unfortunately, again, I will tell you that here that the presidency is not helping matter because by this setting up this kind of committee, I will tell you that is actually engaged, to me, by extension, is encouraging other regional terrorist groups like cells in the north to also come out and say under another name. Because I remember Boko Haram has its own name. There's a splinter group from Boko Haram that's also broke away. That also caused that started kidnapping people in the north. So there will also be others in days to come. Few months ago, there'll be splinter groups as well. They also say they have their own different names because they know that at the end of the day they will want to be given amnesty. In this show, and like this guest speaker also said, how has it worked so far? That's the question. And I will tell you comfortably, I'll tell you assuredly that it's like putting the cat before the mouse. The presidency prefers, when they want to do anything, they don't make the noise about it, using the government media, which is the NTA, FRC, of the government media to make the whole noise about it. Whereas for an intellectual person, for an ideology, someone who is there, who commander-in-chief, who knows what he wants, a technocrat. They don't make noise. It's on the ground. The underground moves have been made, but underground negotiation, discussion, because they are human beings. They're not Boko Haram are not spirits. They are human beings. When do we have this Boko Haram in this kind of come out this long? The Boko Haram came to the fore like this during the first off during the election, presidential election of Jonathan when it came to power. That's when this like the first off between people who are probably some politicians in the north who are not very happy with his coming to power, and they felt they want to make the decision governing for him. So it's very clear to me he's not doing the right thing. He's just, if you look at it very well, you don't openly negotiate with the terrorists. Even when you are trying to draw a terrorist narrative to give them pardon to kind of make peace with the terrorists one way or the other, you don't come out open like this in the open. That you see, the Nigerian government make noise about it. They come to the open. Then they have a committee. They make noise about the committee. They also have a committee that will also look into how they're going to. This is the problem.
Okay, Judge, hold on. Okay, let me go to Hamzat. I want to find out, Hamzat, if the committee is already set up, is there. So if you have a chance to talk to them and make a submission, what are you going to tell them?
Thank you very much. If the committee has been set and I have the chance to talk to them, number one thing is that the committee, we have to get the fact that the committee never set based on the interest of the nation. It is just because of the interest of the PDP and the president. Because from my own view, the government is trying to do this so as to bow to the northern PDP pressure. That is number one. He's also trying to do that to win back the vote of the northern people, because already he knew quite well that the vote in the northern side is going out of hands. Also, if there are no opposition pushing this, Mr. President, in the like, I don't want to mention name. The president I think is benefiting more and more from issue of Boko Haram. And also, I have to tell you categorically that the issue of Boko Haram, if the government of the country would tell me today he doesn't have, these people are faceless or they are ghosts, I will never buy such idea. Because as the grand commander of a nation, if you cannot find who are these people are, that means you are not in charge, you are not capable. And just a couple of days ago, I read in the news that the federal government has given a whole lot of money to the people of Southwest, the fashion OPC group, for them to maintain the pipeline for them. I think from my own view that the government is trying to create another terrorism act in the Southwest, so for them to enjoy. So, for instance, let's say the committee being set up for Boko Haram eventually works out as proposed by God grace, that eventually some people will have to raise up their hands again, because I don't know, I can't, where in any constitution would you give a huge amount of money to people that are not trained to do anything, people that collectively gather themselves, I don't know, for the purpose of giving the money to fashion group. I don't want to say that, but if I have to give my recommendation to the committee in a nutshell, what I would just tell them is, because I don't have any belief in the committee, I will not buy the idea of committee. What I can say is, we as a Nigerian, this is what we can do on our own. We know people who can do this thing for us. And by so doing, I think we have to recommend for the president, because the president, from my own view, doesn't have special advisors. Those who he has as special advisors, they are not better one for him, because every decision that he has been advised on has always been a negative decision on the vast majority. So from my own view, what I would think is the people need the Goodluck Jonathan needs the help of people, whether we like it or not. Is the president, and we have nothing to do about it. All we need to do is just give him a hand so that he can navigate us to the right part of the country. Because those who we claim to be a special advisor, they need advice, not for them to give advice to the president.
All right. We have to leave that topic here, Hamzat. I appreciate this. We are going to go to the next topic, which is the members of the newly constituted Governing Council for Nigerian Universities. And then there's some interesting names there. We have a former Inspector General of Police, Mike Okiro. We have former disgraced former Speaker of the House of Rep, Salusi Buhari, and people like former Works Minister. So what does that say about this government if they could stay on a table, discuss these names, and bring it out for Nigerians and say, these are the people who are going to be in the Governing Council of Federal Universities, and somebody who had a fake degree from University of Toronto as a member of the Board of Trustee of Governing Council of a university. What does that say?
I think it's a laughable list. It's a laughable composition. It sort of speaks to also the kind of contempt with which the government looks at the people, or with which the government has repeatedly treated Nigerians. I mean, over time, and which also speaks volume to the suggestion by Hamzat that a government that has not kept any of its promises cannot be trusted, by any stretch, of thinking or support. How do we begin to support a government, that says it's not going to put people into hardship, but brazenly woke up on the 1st of January 2012 to increase or to remove the subsidy on fuel products? How can you trust a government that has formed almost every committee that it has formed? There's none of it in which any of the recommendations arising from the work of that committee, no matter how much was spent, none of the recommendations has been implemented. How do you begin to trust that the government, is truthful in some of its pronouncements? So when you see this kind of list in which you have Salisu Buhari, for instance, you begin to just, it speaks much. I mean, I wasn't surprised, to the extent that a government that woke up and granted amnesty to the most notorious international fugitive presently on the face of the earth. How do you begin to, see that kind of government?
So now you said that it shows content for the people of Nigeria. Now, they are aware when they were, I believe they know that people will react. They know that the people will react, and people are reacting, and they basically ignore that. The question I have for you, you have followers, and the government will see what people are writing on the web and basically dismiss that. So what options do we have, for the Nigerian people? Because if they know that people will react and nothing will happen next, they will keep doing the same thing.
Yeah, there's what we call in physics breaking points, at which point a material obeys Hooke's law, in which the system just breaks.
The elastic limit. You get to the limit.
To the limit, and then it breaks. I think the government is pushing the people. The government is testing the will of the people, to pull it down. And it needs to borrow a leaf from Egypt, Tunisia, the Arab nations, and begin to, listen more carefully, more attentively to the people, begin to take decisions, take steps that are in tune with the realities of the society and with the expectations of the people or generality of the people of Nigeria. Without that, I don't see us getting into 2015, because a lot of people come to say, oh, let's wait to 2015 to vote the government out. With this kind of government that we have, with the kind of ridiculous and laughable steps that have been taken every day, and sometimes deliberately and sometimes in your face kind of actions or reactions from the government, I don't think we'll wait till 2015 before people get into the streets or begin to reach that breaking point, go into the streets and demand that the entire government be pulled down. And I think it also speaks to the lame duck, stamina of those we have at the parliament. Because in other climes, and there were a lot of social media, it even went viral that the president of, is it Czechoslovakia or so, was impeached for granting amnesty or for, acting ultra vires is morality. And there are sometimes it doesn't even have to be illegal. Yes, people have argued that granting of state pardon to Alamasia is not illegal, which I agree with. But the morality of the the action calls to question, the president's own sincerity in terms of curbing corruption and a lot of other vices in the society. And we are now a laughingstock in the international community. So when you begin to see a government that takes these kind of steps, begin to appoint people who, lied about university degrees to manage their affairs. So what if a case of exam malpractice is brought to the Council of University of Nigeria, Nsukka? How would the Salisu Buhari, for instance, react in that kind of instance? Or a case of illegal or irregular admissions? So you begin to see the, kind of ridiculous, pretenses that this government puts into the public domain. And it can only test the will of the people to a degree, to an extent in which everybody gets totally, tired of the chicanery and the shenanigans in government and pull out into the street to demand that the government itself be totally dismantled.
Now, George, let me go to you. George, what do you think about this list of people in Governing Council for Federal Universities?
I think it was a faulty decision being packaged to fail from the onstart. Because I would say that the people like Salisu Buhari, who the world knew he had a fake certificate, it was not someone like that person is not like Buhari is not supposed to smell any committee or anything, any committee set up by government in Nigeria. So be fired from any public office or any committee whatsoever for integrity's sake of the country. But Nigeria is a way you can have another, someone like a Tafa Balogun to be called tomorrow, a former IG to come and chair another committee for maybe for security in Nigeria. It's unfortunate. They show that Nigeria is right now is under this opposition. The foundation is placed on lies. You cannot place nothing on. You cannot place something on nothing. You can place something. You can place nothing on something. That's the problem. So the whole thing is fallow. The whole thing is empty. It's like a hush, just kangaroo kind of make believe, giving the impression that everything is just fine. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is the committee will a lot of millions of naira will be allocated money. That's the corruption coming in.
All right, Judge, just hold on there. Let me go to Hamzat. Hamzat, I want you to talk about, because I understand that Nigerians in Malaysia are really not having a good time there, that things are not going well. I want you to tell our viewers what's happening to Nigerians in Malaysia and why they should be concerned.
Yeah, thank you very much. Before I actually go into that, please let me chip in a very little thing about the setup of the governing body.
Okay.
I will not be surprised if the government of Nigeria led by Goodluck Ebele Jonathan to do that, because we are only talking about this because it concerns education, it concerns about the future of our life. Like, look back, look at the Chief Tony Anini. He was appointed some few months ago to the Nigerian Port Authority. Later, he was moved to BOT. Look at the pedigree of people who the Goodluck administration has put in place so far to head every committee of Nigeria. This is a clear evidence that the Goodluck administration lacks competence to do anything right in Nigeria, but he is very, I think he's very, very proactive in making wrong calls. Look at the stability of Nigeria, for instance. Look at how he changed from Unilag to Maulag, Maulag to Unilag, stuff like that. It is no doubt that if tomorrow Goodluck Jonathan calls the person, the likes of Bankole, the likes of Farouk to come and lead the CBN, I wouldn't rule that out, because for Goodluck to have granted amnesia to Alamesha, fine, it exercised the executive power, but in that context, when Nigeria is battling with only one problem, corruption, and Goodluck is trying to enrich corruption in Nigeria. So to me, Goodluck is totally clueless, and he has nobody with him, because those people he think he has with him, the likes of the Urubebe, the likes of the special advisor, the permanent secretary, everybody, I think they are a bunch of things like that. Now to talk about the likes, not sure to waste much of your time. I think I am speaking, let me say, I'm speaking on behalf of Nigeria as a whole, because for so long I've been in Malaysia since 2011 December, and so far I've been in Malaysia. I have never had a news in their dailies that says good things about Nigerians. Fine, I will not rule it that maybe some Nigerians are committing crime. There's no doubt about that. There's no country in the world where crimes are not being committed. But it is almost on the daily that Nigerians we are opportune to have an embassy in Malaysia, despite the fact that they are also clueless as they have been chosen. Let me make an instance for you. Just last week, a Nigerian was killed in Kuala Lumpur by gangster, and an attempt to lodge a complaint to our ambassador in Malaysia. It actually turned to fiasco, because our ambassador in Malaysia, he actually brought police to the embassy to chase away the Nigerian, instead of to at least give us the chance to express our view about it. Because the Nigerian that was killed in Malaysia just last week, the guy was killed in front of a police station, meaning that the authority of Malaysia, they want nothing but the death of Nigerians. There are so many unrest of Nigerians, but what do we need to do? We have no government to cater for us. I have been to several embassies in the world. Like, I've been to Russian embassy, American embassy, so many embassies. I see the kind of hospitality they give to me, despite the fact that I'm not a citizen of their country. But when you go to a Nigerian embassy, you have to see what we always go through. For instance, this is a clear solution. The embassy has two buildings. One normal building that is being built with blocks and some kind of good stuff in there. I've never been to the building. Another one was built with planks. Imagine, they built plank for Nigerians, so that when we come to the embassy, we have no comfort in the embassy. A embassy we call our second home, because whenever you are in Nigerian embassy, you want to feel like, oh, now I'm at home. I have to do like I'm in Nigeria. But the kind of stress, the kind of intimidation you get in the Nigerian embassy in Malaysia is much more than what you can ever get from a prison yard, because they don't value us. They don't realize we are really Nigerian. The kind of respect they give to the foreigner, the likes of Malaysian, the like of so many nationals, they give them more and more value than we Nigerians. I don't know why that is being done to us. I don't know. Just last week that I said a Nigerian was killed, we tried to convey our request to the ambassador, but to our greatest surprise, the ambassador left to Singapore. He never cared about what's happened to Nigerian that is being killed. He is being killed now, and nothing ever happened. He was killed, and his kidney was also removed. Also, when we tried to reach out to the ambassador, 7 a.m. in the morning, when we got to Kuala Lumpur to at least make a peaceful protest, we were there just to explain ourselves to him. But what we got there was a mass deployment of police officers. The Nigerian ambassador that are supposed to cater for us, that are supposed to care for the citizen, I am very surprised that he was the one that actually arranged for a lot of policemen you ever seen in your life. They were there fully armed to chase us away. Why? Because we want to come to our embassy. We were not regarded at all as a Nigerian nation.
All right, let's leave it there. Egghead, what do you think about what you're hearing?
Yeah, honestly, I think you know, Hamzat, it's just an unfortunate development that we have the kind of nation that we have presently and the kind of leadership that we have. And I think we all have to, you know, take blame for that, even as citizens. But I'd like to remind you that recently a video was shown, you know,
in Senegal.
Yeah, in Senegal, you know, protested and they took laws into their hands, you know, vandalized the mission in Dakar. And it's not only Malaysia, you know, I think it happens almost in all our missions, you know, everywhere. But what do you begin to expect from a country which, I mean, whose leadership has shown, as I said earlier on, total contempt for its citizens, you know, in all ramifications. You know, I mean, a government that does not give a damn, you know, as pronounced by the president himself. How do you expect him to? He doesn't give a damn, you know, about those who are in Nigeria. How does he begin to even think about those who are, you know, outside the country? And some of these ambassadors that are sent to head the missions, actually they are just a reflection of the government back home, you know, because there's nobody to call them to order.
I wanted to ask you, because recently there was an article published saying who is our foreign minister. Do you know who our foreign minister is?
Yes, I think it's Gbenga Ashiru.
Yeah, but not just about the name, but who is
I mean, interestingly, Gbenga Ashiru is supposed to be one of the, I think he's a seasoned, you know, diplomat. You know, he's supposed to be one of the, you know, best hands that we have. So it's quite unfortunate that we have all these things happening, you know, within our foreign affairs
department, but something
you know,
that should be concerning the foreign affairs department, but you don't seem to see the minister.
But I think it's also because, I mean, the head of the government, who is supposed to be the brain box of the entire, you know, the fulcrum through which everybody draws blood, you know, he's not there. It's not there. It's totally, you know.
Because I was about to say to Hamzat, you know, the people, the Nigerians in Malaysia, have they tried to petition the minister, try to reach the minister? But then I figured out, oh, well.
Without trying to second guess, you know, whatever must have happened. I think if you go through the ministries, if you ask citizens who are Nigerians in diaspora, I'm sure there are lots of petitions on a number of different issues, how Nigerians have been treated with disrespect, you know, at these missions that are supposed to be an extension of the home country and home government, and they have not been offered services, even when they pay for it sometimes, you know, and sometimes, like in a place like the US that is far, you travel to DC, at the end of the day, you get, you know, treated with so much disdain. You know, it's totally, you know, uncalled for, and it's sometimes very frustrating and disgusting when you see that happen. But I also want to comment on, you know, Hamzat, you know, had made mention about the Boko Haram thing, and then there was a question that came in on Twitter that, okay, I didn't profile solutions. But I think the first thing first is that the government needs to understand what the phenomenon of Boko Haram is. What is the philosophy that drives it? You know, and presently I tell people that I've, you know, sort of observed about 5 different strands, you know, of that tendency. Being economic, there is Boko Haram for economics, you know, just for the purpose of it. There is the one that is, you know, for the politics, seeing that now you have a president who is from the southern minority part of Nigeria. You have the Boko Haram that is cultural, you know, which usually is within the contestation of power and geography and delineation of land in the northern part of the country. You have those that are religious, you know, in nature, which usually people blow out of proportion, which I don't think are, you know, the major strand of Boko Haram. And you have those who, for me, who are like more active now, which are the franchise. You know, those who just do it for the purpose of just, you know, economic benefits, kidnap foreign journalists or foreign citizens, and then call for, you know, either, I mean, negotiations to get money or some other things. Without understanding this, and I believe the security agencies that we have should have done a lot of, you know, intelligence gathering on all of this to be able to, except, you know, the system has totally collapsed. You know, I don't believe that they don't have enough or sufficient information on how to nip, you know, in the bud these, you know, particular terrorist activities. So it is because you have infiltrators, you know, who feed these guys, or who benefit from the activities of these criminals, within government, within the system, that leak information to them, gives them information to be able to allow them to escape, some of the different kinds of arrest or, SWAT operations that the security agencies perform. That's why you have the gangs, that have extended their existence beyond limit, till the day that we have now. So we need to understand that. And if you don't have a government that understands this and acknowledges the problem, because this government has been in denial also. It seems to me that the government is always, pretending itself as a victim. And every time there's a bombing, the president comes as if, okay, this is happening only because I'm from the southern region. The discussion needs to get, above that petty level. The president needs to know that he's not the victim here. The country, the victims are the ones who are affected directly, by some of these activities. It needs to get above that. Without that, we may not make headway.
Recently, we've heard from the government too. There was a kind of shift of blame, kind of saying it's not their responsibility. They're pointing at people and saying, if you have solutions, give us a solution. Now, a lot of people were shooting back and saying, if you can't solve the problem, leave. Why are you there? What's your position on that? Because we see exchange between the government and people like Buhari on the opposition. And what is your position about whose responsibility? And if you are saying this is a problem, the reaction there seems to be, what is the solution? Whose job it is to?
The president is just being cheeky, and I think it's admission of failure. The president swore an oath on his inauguration that he's going to defend the Constitution as well as provide security for lives and property of the people, of every individual Nigerian. So he has failed to do that. In essence, he's saying that he has not kept his oath of office, and thereby is liable to be removed, or he lives honorably. In the absence of that, I think he cannot shift the blame. He is the president. It's not Buhari that is the president. I think there is too much focus. Buhari is a former president, and we should put him in his place in history. So President Jonathan should rise up to the occasion. He is the commander-in-chief. He has all the paraphernalia of office. He has the power. He has the authority to invoke the sovereignty that the people have invested in him for the period of 4 years and tackle these menace of Boko Haram and ensure that the lives of every Nigerian, everywhere, everywhere, whether within, the territorial embodiment that we call Nigeria or outside, the country, is protected without let or hindrance, without favor or any fear of any form,
All right, I understand that we have 2 more minutes. Let me give George and Hamzat an opportunity to give us, in 30 seconds, their final thoughts. George, are you still with us?
Good. Yes.
Okay, go ahead. 30 seconds, please. We have 2 minutes left.
I'll say here that so far the government of President Goodluck Jonathan has failed Nigerians totally. Nigerians had high hopes in him, high expectations in him. For a country, if a crime continues like any crime that continues like this in the world, anywhere in the world, you know that the participants, mostly the head, which is the president, the federal government, they are benefiting seriously. There are people. That's why there are most in the government who are benefiting from this crime, from terrorism crime, and they are enjoying it surplus. That's why the problem could not be nipped in the bud. That's why there's a problem. It has become a monster now. That they are making so much money from it, and we have a problem in our hands. And the government need to look inwards. Jonathan need to, he calls himself a Christian, fine, need to ask God what's the problem. Look inward. Tell him to go to show him who are the moles. Because whatever the government plans, it's being intercepted before the security agencies carried out the plan at all. That's the problem. Even among security agencies, there are Boko Haram who have Boko Haram mentality among them, who feel more loyal to people of Boko Haram, to these terrorist groups, think that they are kids and kings. Nobody can do them anything. So they don't want anybody to harm them. That's the problem of Nigeria.
All right, George, thank you. I have to stop you there. Hamzat, 30 seconds, please.
All right. What I would just advise the government to do is I will advise the government of Nigeria, led by Goodluck Jonathan, to at least be truthful to us, because for so long the security chiefs have arrested so many Boko Haram, to my belief, and not even a single word has been extracted from them. I could remember March 25, 2002. Senator Ndume names VP Namadi Sambo as one of the sponsors of Boko Haram. And ever since the day he mentioned the name, there was no news anymore on him. And again, I will also advise Goodluck Jonathan to please to step on toes, because if you have to do things right in Nigeria, you have to step on toes, and please, you should forget about second term. Because the moment you keep reminding yourself about second term, then it makes you weak and weak and weak, more weaker. Please, for God's sake, be our Nigerian Mandela. That is all I have to say.
All right. Thank you, Hamza. Thank you, George, for joining us today. Now, Egghead, let me ask you. Now, the government seem to be, when you look at the media in Nigeria, do you think that the media in Nigeria is still the traditional media, doing the kind of things they need to do to hold this government responsible? And is the social media an alternative to that role?
If you ask me, in my own study of media development, and the history of media everywhere, in almost every society, I don't think any one single media has replaced or totally cancelled the other. What you have is degree of usage, continue to vary, from time to time, depending on needs and demands and consumer, interests. I think traditional media in Nigeria have woken up, if you ask me, from the period or the era of the military, when a lot of them, out of fear, got scared stiff and, started, sort of bantering into the demands of the government in power, to sort of evolve, and enrich discussions on democracy and building institutions in Nigeria. And I think also they have been quite impressive in responding to the new wave of social media, because almost all of them, I don't know any of the traditional media agencies that is not also on social media actively too. And I think social media sort of defined the way they also carry the news, except maybe the Nigerian Television Authority, which is bogged down by the fact that the system itself is totally corrupt and tending towards collapse. But be that as it may, many of the media organizations, print, electronic, traditional media, I think they have adjusted well, and I think they continue to enrich the discussions. And because now you have cheap means of using new technology to promote media engagement. I mean, like the kind of platforms provided by there's the Citizens platform, there's Premium Times, there is Daily Post, of course, Sahara reporters too. It has sort of changed the conversation. And those other, traditional media, like Punch and the TV stations and radio organizations now seem to have attracted, put themselves, additionally on social media to be able to engage with the citizens. So now there's sort of real-time conversations. Unlike what we used to, like in the Yoruba nation, it used to be like your TV is, I think the name for it is like a kind of description, like you speak, that speaks to you but cannot receive a response. But now it has sort of metamorphosed.
All right. Thank you so much, Egghead, for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's been an interesting discussion, and we are going to continue next week when we come back for the Skype calls. It's a chance for you to join us and give us your opinion about all the topics we've been discussing. Coming up next, we are going to give you our Keeping It Real and Dr. Damages and all the other shows. Stay tuned.